Hey there, this is Scott with Showing Austin on my very first flight with the PROMAX with just one battery, approximately 10 to 12 minutes of flying time. I did use the manual mode. I want to show you the screen recording I made. I'll give you some tips on how it looks and what the layout is like. When you first sign into the Hover app like this, you're going to connect to your Hover. Since mine is already recognized, the top area here does not have to be pressed, but I would recommend selecting that if you're not connected already. And that is for your album only for later. And then I went right to the manual control. You need the preview, went to manual control down here. When you go to manual control, it's going to ask you to join the Wi-Fi of your Hover PROMAX. And once you join the Hover PROMAX, you're going to see the layout, which is a big upgrade from the Hover X1. The Air X1 did not have this large of a layout. It had a very small layout at the top of the screen holding it vertically. So that's a huge upgrade. You have some settings up here. Miraculously, you can change the exposure value by third increments. You can also change the ISO and the shutter, which is great to test out when you have time. For this purpose, I just left everything on auto. Just wanted to show you that you could do this. And on the right, top right, you can see there is flight settings, camera settings, and joystick settings. I personally always choose to go to the outside so the camera's facing away from me in manual mode. Here you can see you have the ability to choose HDR slow-mo. For this purpose I did HDR. And 4K, 60 frames a second, and the 265. I don't have a joystick here, I'm completely in manual mode, but this is where you're going to find your joystick settings. Height, horizontal speed, vertical speed, rotational speed. Should be pretty neat, some pitch speed. After using the manual mode, I'm steering towards the joystick myself. Here is where you toggle on between photo and video. That's the icon for video and photo. Back to video. And then I do believe you're able to select the photos while you're in video mode, which is interesting while you're shooting. Here's your left and right toggle. I'll explain in great detail what these do. Here I am over the Mount Bonnell or Covert Park area of Lake Austin. This, you'll notice where I just circled that area on some videos I've seen on the web, has the height in meters that you're flying. This does not happen with the app that I used, at least not in the US. Here's your app controls. You can turn left, you can turn right on this left circle. You can go up and you can go down. In the short time I had, I didn't really toggle down and to the right at the same time, but I will be working on that soon because that's very important to me, and I'm hoping this app lets you do that. On the right control, you can dolly right, you can dolly left. So you should be able to do two simultaneous moves. And you can go forward here and just playing around here to try to straighten it up apparently. And that down arrow on the right side is for backward. So again, this was my very first battery, my very first flight. Interestingly enough, when I did this screen recording, it actually didn't record the video. I finally got video to record miraculously on its own on my second and third little flights with the same battery. For some reason, I got the screen recording, but it did not allow me to record the video to the SD card for whatever reason. I'm going to write it off as an app issue. This is the gimbal control right there. Slider down, slider up. Looks like a zoom control for some other apps, but this is the gimbal control in manual mode. You can see it shows flying. In the top right, I believe that far left icon is showing you that it's flying. In the far right, you have the ability to see the battery life while you're shooting, which is nice. In this case, it's 68% left on the Hover PROMAX, which is, it died really quickly. I started at 99. So As you can see, we're only about 4.5, 5 minutes into this, and it's gone down a third. So just still playing around with these toggles here. And I assume that's the audio that's lit green, and I'm not sure what's between the audio icon up here and the battery life. Of course, one of the greatest new features and upgrades is the omni-terrain water surface, large height variances, low light situations, and ground not being clear in the case of this terrain right here. Here, one last time I'm playing with the gimbal and showing you the view that I had. There I am right here, this little hiking trail up on the cliff. So I didn't go over water, but you can see I'm pretty much over this terrain where I would never do that with the X1. I always feared having to try to retrieve it on a cliffside. Now I'm ready to return home. I tapped that return button on the left side, trying to bring it a little closer to me just for peace of mind here so it's above my head. It's not forcing a return home here. I chose to return home to test it out, because it's only at 48%. It basically tells you how it's going to land, and apparently you can stop it right there. It basically goes, I think I have it set for 20 meters away, and I want it to be close to me in case I had to grab it. At the very end, it did return home. In the very end of my video that I'm going to link above here to show you the good footage I have, it did return home and landed very quickly. I'll link that video up ahead. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe. I'm going to keep testing this Hover PROMAX and love to take you along on the ride.